hardest part is figuring out what you want to master.
Focus on your product.
Can you tell somebody that they suck?
You got to just go, this is exactly what I want to do for a living.
You can't even tell somebody that their breath is fit life.
So Akron, Ohio, huh?
Akron, Ohio. Have you spent a lot of time in Ohio?
No, well, Columbus, Ohio. I used to fight there.
Got it.
The state fair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a huge state fair. I don't know if it's still there.
When was that? What year, roughly?
Back in the 70s, man.
That was amateur? Or that was when you were pro?
Amateur. Wow. Probably is back in 71, 70, 73.
Wow.
God, it goes, I mean, that's what I say, wow, man, because I think back of how long it's been.
Does it feel like time flies super fast?
Yes.
Yeah.
The minute I hit 50, I was like, wow. Wow, man, 50.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
It was crazy, man. It was.
Especially in those days, were you just like traveling all around, going
all over the world? Yeah, just traveling. But I didn't branch out. I didn't. I stayed within the hotel, just right there, instead of going out and visiting, looking,
Yeah, yeah. And you mean like when you weren't fighting, you were in the hotel?
Yeah, I mean, even with fighting, I'm not in the hotel. I'm just like I almost like I was really shy and low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even as I succeeded.
Even through fighting?
Yeah.
Really.
The only time I didn't have low self-esteem was in that ring.
Was when?
In the ring.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
It is crazy.
Because I feel like a lot of like crazy high performing, especially athletes, are that way. There's something about like you feel like you have this superpower when you're doing your craft, but outside of that, it's like, That is interesting.
How do I make it work? How do I remain productive? How do I help others? I mean, it's when I think of my life, my career, and everything, it's like puzzled me sometimes. I was like, what, Because I'm not like I was. I'm not like I am in the ring.
Yeah.
I'm like, smiling, laid back.
Is there anything else now that gives you like a bit of that feeling?
I don't try to, because there's nothing will ever give me that.
Yeah. Did you have a hard time with that at all? Like learning that, like trying to find it in other places?
It got tough. And that's when you go to more alcohol or more drugs or just all those things.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting process.
Yeah.
But I think it's with all people, not just in sports, but just you've had a career in acting or whatever, and then when you leave that, it's like.
That's what I always talk about, even with like, let's say the high school football star, right? Like you're the star in high school.
And
you feel like you're the king of the world, because who doesn't want to be the coolest, most popular, most athletic kid in high school? But it can almost be a curse if you can't evolve, because we all know how much more difficult college is. We all know how much more difficult the NFL is. If you peak in high school, like it can just derail the rest of your life, or at least for a long time,
It unless you address it. Unless you acknowledge it.
Did you learn it just from like your own? You just learned it. Like there's not any book or any.
No, you just on the job training.
Yeah.
On the job training.
You guys are good to go whenever.
I'm flowing right in. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Yeah.
We got a hard out of 3.
Yeah, I got you. I just like my new thing is like we're just chatting and then we'll get into story.
Perfect.
Heck yeah.
We'll start with this moment right here.
There you go. So let's go to the very beginning, and I just want to like try to wrap my head around kind of the story, and like you've accomplished so much, you know what I mean? And like just to try to wrap my head around what that felt like for you and how that process went. Where you grew up in Maryland?
I was born in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
The family left Wilmington. I was 3 years old, and we moved to Washington, D.C. That's because that's when, my older brothers, Roger and Kenny, who were athletes, suggest I go to the number 2 boys club. And I go there, and there's a boxing group downstairs, and I put the gloves on, and this kid hit me, boom, in the nose. I said, that's it. And I put the gloves off. I said, I'm good.
What? How old were you in that?
I was like maybe 10, maybe 8,
And you
maybe
remember
10.
that moment?
It's so vivid in my mind. It's so vivid of that experience because I was a kid who was a wallflower. I was a kid who had extremely low self-esteem. I was a kid who was shy. I was a kid. I thought at the time I was not meant for boxing.
Yeah.
You know, I was just didn't like hitting people. Didn't want anyone to hit me.
Yep.
And didn't feel that I had the tools.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
It's so interesting.
It's so interesting that you know, because you just think the story is like, well, you know, at 2 years old, I've wrapped toilet paper around my fists and started punching stuff, and I knew I was built for this. You know, it's funny that was the first interaction. Why? So where are you at in your siblings? You have a bunch of siblings, right?
Yes, 2 brothers. Well, 3. My oldest brother passed away, Roy.
Mm-hmm.
My older brothers, Kenny and Roger.
Got it.
The 3 sisters, Bunny, we call it Bunny, Sharonette, and Sandy.
Got it. And why do you know why they thought boxing would be like maybe something you'd enjoy?
No one thought. No.
Okay.
It was just I just happened to go to that gym,
Got it.
put the gloves on, and see, you know, what would happen. But then after that kid hit me in the nose,
Yeah.
we moved to Maryland, and in Palmer Park, Maryland, I went to the gym again, and I was 14 years old. So there was like 5, 6, 7 years passed,
Yeah.
and I go to the Palmer Park Recreation Center, put the gloves on, and it was like I found boxing found me, or we found each other. It was magic that I felt confident.
Really?
And I was not really an athlete at all at that time. But I worked hard. I just continued to work hard. My brother used to beat me up. He used to hit me because I was just there.
Yeah. Just at home.
Just at home.
Roughhouse.
Yeah, they would punch on me. And because I was disciplined, that's what I had. I had discipline.
Yeah.
And I sacrificed. No girlfriends
Yeah.
for a long, long, long time. But I was so dedicated and so focused, I call it tunnel vision,
Yep.
that I became a lot better than most.
Yeah. Do you remember at that time, like, okay, because I know just in day-to-day life, having that sort of tunnel vision and that discipline is insanely hard, right? Going to the gym or eating
Extremely.
right or whatever. Becoming a world champion boxer is obviously an entirely different level. Like, do you remember what was driving you? Like, did you have this mental picture of, I'm going to be the greatest in the world, or I'm going to provide for my family? Or like, do you remember what was pushing you to have those long days?
I know exactly what was pushing me to be accepted. I had low self-esteem,
Yeah.
extremely low self-esteem. I never told anybody. I never showed anybody, but I just didn't feel I fit in. But I kept training, and then I saw the light. All of a sudden now I am Golden Gloves, which is tournaments for amateur boxing, AAU, and there was the Olympics, the Olympics, and I tried to qualify for the Olympics, and I was 16, and you had to be 17 to be legal. I told them I was 17, and I tried out in the Olympic trials, and I lost in the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember like it was yesterday, sitting in my dressing room, crying because I was so close to the Olympics. And a coach came back there, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Hey," he said, "Hey, Sugar Man." He just for some reason called me Sugar Man.
Uh-huh.
He said, "Don't worry. You'll be more experienced in 1976, which was 4 years later." And I looked at him, and I just shook my head, and I worked hard for those 4 years.
Yeah.
And he was correct. He was right.
Yeah. And so, what, you were around 20 at that time?
I was exactly 20.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Do you have any idea, just going back to the earlier, like, do you have any idea what changed from the first time getting punched in the face and being over it to the next time feeling so, like, empowered?
I just felt a desire to be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, like I said, I had very low self-esteem. Even within the family, I just felt I didn't fit. I wasn't up to par.
Yeah.
I just felt that way. And naturally around girls, I felt my nose was too big. I felt I had a gap tooth. Didn't have curly hair. I mean, all those things kept me away from the girls. They didn't want me.
Yeah.
They never talked to me. And I wanted to be something, be somebody. And boxing was those stairs.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
climb that I had to climb.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Outside of boxing, like, just childhood in Maryland, what type of stuff was going on? Like, what were your brothers and sisters doing? Was there any other, like, early interest that you had? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what did that look like outside of the boxing?
I'm glad you asked that question because it was basketball that I never got picked. I never got selected. Because, first of all, I wasn't that good anyway. There were football. I felt that was a dangerous sport. I didn't even acknowledge it. Singing. I wanted to sing.
You did?
I did. My name is Ray Charles. My mother named me after Ray Charles.
Love that.
We knew early on that there was no hope. But I wanted to be something. I wanted to be somebody.
Yep.
And nothing I saw that I had a chance at.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I hadn't. But you also got to be passionate about something. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be. I'm willing to go wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I did those things in my teens.
Yeah.
And that's, having that discipline to pursue or to work your body and your mind. I welcome that.
Yeah. And what about, like, finding that passion? Like, it sounds like it just kind of grabbed you, like it got you. Like, would you tell a young person to just try as many things as they can? Or, like, would you have any advice on, like, how to find passion? Because I do believe that the only way to be great is to wake up at 5 a.m. if that's what you have to do, is to work those hours, is to do that thing. But you're never going to do that unless you love what you're doing at the end of the day. But I think a lot of people are disconnected from having anything like that in their life that they feel that sort of passion for, I can't give you that. Yeah.
No one can give you that. You must want that. The passion, the love. I mean, it wakes you up in the morning. It wakes you up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that 5-mile run. It's natural. It's a natural process.
Yeah.
And I wanted it so bad I could taste it. And that's what separated me from the other guys. I mean, the other guys, even they were more experienced, it was talented, but I had that edge, the eye of the tiger, if you will, to go further. I never thought about losing. I always felt I could win. I used to pray before the fight, but I never prayed to win. I prayed no one got hurt.
Really?
As a teenager, as a young
And nobody got hurt.
No one
wasn't
got
even just yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
That's amazing. What did at that early age, like in your teens, what did training, like, what did that look like? You're up at 5 a.m. You're obviously, then are you going straight to the gym? Like, how are you balancing that in school? Like, what does that look like?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, Chris. I actually ran to school. Mm-hmm. I ran to school about 3 miles. And because the bus, I would not take the bus. I would run to school. And the kids laughed. I remember them laughing at me because at one point I did cry because they thought I was crazy. That's a bus, a nice bus. Why don't you? But I ran to school and would change clothes real quick. And because, I didn't give up road work. I had to be a step ahead of everybody because fundamentally I was not sound yet. And I did that. The kids would laugh at me. They just didn't know how dedicated I was, how focused I was. I always say focus, but I call it tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I wanted it so bad. I wanted to win so bad, and really not knowing what was ahead of me. I just wanted to win. So when I got that opportunity, that first fight, that first tournament, that first event, I wanted to be ready. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah. It's just amazing. Like, I feel like at that age, because at that age too, we're all so sensitive to what people say, what other people say about us. And I think, like, to have that perseverance through, being a teenager and all your peers saying you're crazy and you're weird and why are you running to school, and be able to even push through that, like, is insane. I mean, it's so cool. And I think that's what also derails so many young people, is hearing those outside voices and thinking like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to get in with what they're doing. And you know what I mean? Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. They say words don't hurt. Words do hurt.
Yeah.
And especially now because they're global. For me, if someone says something bad about me or made a joke about me, it hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, bad, really, really bad. But I never told anyone. I never told my mom, my dad. I never told my brothers or sisters. I kept it to myself. I kept everything to myself, which, looking back in retrospect, I guess that's what made me who I am.
Yeah.
I had to fight for my respect. I had to fight for my position.
Yeah. Man,
it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm so different than I am in the ring.
Yeah.
I'm so non-confrontational. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But when I got into the ring, it was just a different story.
That's amazing.
a different story.
So good. So let me ask you this: when did you? So you're getting all this, backlash from other kids, and you're working your ass off. Like, do you remember any moment when you were like, "Man, I'm good at this. Like, I'm starting something's different than the other kids," or you know what I mean, or like, I got something here.
When I tried out for the 1972 Olympic trials. And I nearly made it. I lost in the quarterfinals. Mm-hmm. And I said, it wasn't until I was in the dressing room crying, and the coach came back there, Coach Sarge Johnson, and he said, listen, son, you'll be okay for the next Olympics. You'll be more experienced. You'll do this, you'll do that. And I cried, but I never let go of what he said to me, that 1976 will be my time to shine. And he was so right, because I gained more experience. I was more confident. I was more dedicated. I didn't jeopardize. I didn't do anything to jeopardize my last shot at the Olympics.
And so was it that year of the Olympics that you were like, whoa,
there's
something going on here?
Something was going on, because I remember there was an Olympic, what's the guy's name? Aldous Adames, a Cuban fighter. And he was considered the gold medal winner because he had annihilated everybody. I mean, he knocked guys out, and they were taken on stretchers out of the ring. I mean, he was hitting that hard. And I remember so clearly sitting in what they call a headquarters, where the athletes can go and watch previous matches, whatever, wrestling, boxing, whatever. And so when they showed the boxing, the guy was what was shown on the film, and he knocked the guy out. And I heard people say, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna knock Sugar Ray Leonard out." I heard that. Well, they didn't call me Sugar Ray back then. They called me Ray.
Yep.
And I snuck out of the room because it was kind of dark, and I worked out. I did like 100 push-ups or sit-ups or whatever. But I said, he's not going to beat me. He's not going to beat me. But the odds were in his favor.
Yeah. And
I beat him. And I beat him for the gold medal. And that was like, wow, man. Words can't describe. I can't elaborate enough on what it felt like standing on that podium with that gold medal draped around my neck.
Yeah.
And the Cuban here, and I think the Russian was there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it, man. This is it. But then again, it was kind of bittersweet, because I was not looking forward to turning professional. I was going to go to the University of Maryland, further my education, get a great job.
Even through that process?
Even through that process,
Wow.
because I didn't, I love boxing, but not that much. And I just felt that, hey, you don't make that much money in boxing. And got home, and my dad was in a coma. And everyone's crying. My mom's crying. I'm crying. And I asked my mentor, Jenks Moore, and I said, Jenks, how can I make fast money? He said, turn pro. I didn't give it a second thought. I turned pro because it was for my dad, keep my dad living. And then my dad, by the way, lived, my father passed away about a month or so ago at 95.
Wow.
And it was because of boxing that allowed me to get the best help medically for my dad.
That is so crazy. That's so crazy that's that's how you were able to provide for that and make that happen. But also that it was a necessity almost at the moment. It wasn't like, once again, it's the difference of, this is what I love about doing these conversations is like, you kind of have one perception of how a story probably went, and then you hear the real one and you're like, holy cow, like you're telling me that Sugar Ray Leonard only turned pro out of necessity.
Necessity.
Yeah.
Use the perfect word, necessity.
That's amazing.
I only did it to help my father. I did it to make money to pay the bills.
That's incredible.
The only reason.
Let me ask you this. When you, like, the picture you just painted a little bit of being at the Olympics and waiting to fight, and like, it just sounds so crazy to me, not only going in front of a bunch of people and literally fist fighting until, someone wins, but like knowing that the odds are against you, hearing people saying Ray's going to get knocked out. Like, that to me sounds like my worst nightmare. You know what I mean? My question is, how did you deal with the fear? Like, how did you not get in that ring and just be scared to death or too scared to do everything that you had practiced? Or, you know what I mean? Did you have any like tool to like shut that off?
That's a great question because I was just so determined. I mean, that Cuban had far more experience, bigger, stronger, but I wanted to win. I had to win.
Yeah.
Think about, I had to win. Even without knowing that my father was ill, I had to win to be the final chapter in this book.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah.
What was going to happen if I had not won? It's, when I think about this, when you raise this question, and I said this was predestined. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
I keep saying I'm so opposite of what I used to do, but I was made to do what I displayed.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So then when you start fighting professionally, what's your family? You have a big family. Is your family like so excited? Are they coming to all the fights? Like, how's that look from a family aspect?
My professional career, was nothing short of illustrious. But what happens if you don't maintain perspective of what you do and what you have? There is also a dark road, and I went that dark road, with drugs and alcohol. But you also have to take care of yourself, and you also must be around good people who have your best interests in mind. And again, is it easy? Not at all, because all of a sudden you come from nothing, extremely humble beginnings, nothing, living in the ghetto, and then all of a sudden now you don't look at the price tags on anything.
Yeah.
You just, give me one of those. In fact, give me a couple of those. And I did that. I've been through that, but that didn't make me happy. That's the thing about it. It didn't make me happy. Maybe for a week I was okay. I was cool and everything, but that next day or next week or next year I was not happy. And I learned that, and almost before it's too late, I learned that I need to feel good in my own skin.
Yeah.
You really do, and I try to instill that, or to young people, young kids, young people with so much talent, to try to, and it's not easy, try to be around good people. Just try to be around good people.
Yeah. It's amazing to me too that, and we hear this story a lot, and it's true, but that all of that money and being able to buy anything you wanted at that moment, everyone thinks that's the cure for all of these problems, right? Like if you were just rich and famous, all your problems would go away. You'd be the happiest person on earth. You'd be so fulfilled. And it's just amazing that, you hear it from everyone. Anyone who's ever been through it will tell you that that is not the answer. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the biggest like illusions that exists.
It is.
In, you know what I mean? In the world.
And people become, not intentionally, but it's disillusioned by, if you're famous and you're rich and all this kind of stuff, that you should always, be happy. And you walk out and someone says, "Hey, how you doing?" And you don't speak. We had a bad day. We have bad days too.
Yeah.
And I learned it myself, and I taught that to myself, that no matter how I felt, whether something awful happened to the family or business, when there were kids who came up to me, I never turned away an autograph or picture or whatever.
Yeah.
I always did that. Yeah. But you just got to maintain perspective and stay grounded.
Yeah.
You have to stay grounded. And again, it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. It's not that easy. Depends on who you are. It depends on how much control you have over your heart and your mind. Mm-hmm. I've been on an incredible journey. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Yeah. It made me who I am.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it made me who I am.
And what about was there anything that happened for you that really helped you, get clear or get grounded or get, was it any books or any traveling that you did or family members, or was there anything that you did that you felt like reconnected you to that?
Yes. I had the greatest friend in the world, Muhammad Ali, mm-hmm. and he always, when we were together, gave me advice. And he said, "Ray, you make sure you sign all your checks. You make sure you do this. You can take control. You do this. You do that. Everything positive." And you don't know until it happens, because sometimes people do things with ulterior motives. Yeah. And it's a learning process. But until you feel good in your own skin, those productive things are not going to take place. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Because if you believe the hype, and sometimes we can. I listen, I'm guilty too, yeah. But I've learned through, going through my first divorce. I married an incredible woman, Bernadette, having beautiful kids. My oldest son's little Ray. He's 40-some years old. And
he'll always be little Ray.
And Jarrell, Daniel and Camille, my daughter. Mm-hmm. Because I want them to be okay. Mm-hmm. I want them to reach for the stars. I want them to be smart. I want them to be humble. I want them to give back, to reciprocate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm asking a lot of things, but you know what? That's my kids. Yeah. I want them to be the best.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about a moment obviously you were at such a high point that very few people get to experience, right? Meaning not only amount of income, but just you're a world champion, multiple gold medals, on a stage. Do you remember a time that was the most sort of where even am I moment? How did life get this so crazy moment?
Oh, crazy good or crazy bad?
Well,
I have both.
Both, if you have both.
The best time was the Olympics, mm-hmm. because it wasn't about money or fame. It was just about representing myself and my country. Won the gold medal, standing on that pedestal, and just happy. The worst time was when my professional career was over. I was 25, uh-huh. and then because nothing could compete with being the world champ. Being the champ, man. Even to the day, people call, "Hey, champ, how you doing, champ?"
Yeah, of course.
You're used to that, But then you feel that, God, man, I want to continue to do this.
Yep.
And at 25, it's hard. It's hard to kind of make reason. And I turned to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Because, I tried it and I was like, I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't feel bad anymore. But it's just a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a Band-Aid. It's not going to last long.
Yeah.
I know that now because it's, for me, it's been over 11 years being sober and giving kids advice and, trying to help someone else out.
Yeah.
It's who I am now. And I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Did you reach any sort of low point? Like was there sort of a point that was the worst point because of the drugs and alcohol that you were like, hey, I got to turn this around, or was it a gradual thing?
It gradual, yes, but then it started picking the tempo, the pace, the speed of destruction. And my first wife, Juanita, she was a wonderful wife. It was me. It was always me. And so we split up. And then I thought I would never have another relationship with anyone. I didn't want any more kids because I screwed up. And I was hard on myself. I was really hard on myself. That the only thing that kind of gave me a cushion was alcohol. And then my friends introduced me to cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was introduced to cocaine, but I took advantage of it. I just went crazy because I had the resources.
Mm-hmm.
But when I met Bernadette, my wife of 25 years, you know what? She showed me that life is beautiful. Life, you don't need to buy new cars, or you don't need to buy this or that, because that was the case. Because I try to buy friendship. Mm-hmm. I was trying to buy love. I was trying to buy my mistakes. Mm-hmm. If I come in too late, I would buy my wife a ring, a diamond ring, or buy some new shoes or whatever. But she taught me about sincerity, humility.
That's amazing. So you met her kind of at that low point, and she's actually the one who helped.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
because,
man.
And she called me an alcoholic. My first wife called me an alcoholic. Juanita, she called. And I divorced. We got divorced. And Bernadette said, "You're an alcoholic." And I got angry because to me, an alcoholic is those guys on the street.
Yep.
Not clean or no hygiene, whatever, because they can't afford to or whatever. That's my perception of an alcoholic. And I woke up, and when I finally was able to say, I'm Ray and I'm alcoholic, my life got better.
Really?
It got better.
Instantly?
Yeah, instantly. I'm, as crazy as it may sound, I'm happy to say I'm an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hopefully saying that helps someone else out.
Yeah, of course. So let me ask you this too, because we talked about it a little bit when we first started recording, but the interesting thing to me is the feeling of not fitting in or whatever, however to describe that, is kind of what led you to have that crazy fire in the ring, right? And even want to be that level of a champion. But you were kind of saying that even at the height of your career, when you were out of the ring, you still were shy and staying in the hotel and not getting out. You know what I mean? Is that accurate?
It's accurate, yes. And I wasn't happy because I didn't know who was who. I didn't know, because of my fame and fortune, I didn't know who was there because of me. And a lot was in my own head too, because I had incredible people, family, but I was going down that road, and I kept questioning everything, especially if it didn't go my way. So it was also selfishness, and it was just, I didn't feel good in my own skin. Mm-hmm. And that sounds crazy because of my success, but I don't know. I just don't know, man.
Yeah. No, I think it makes, oddly enough, I think it makes perfect sense. And I think that, I guess my question is, so then where did you find When did that feeling start to get kind of buttoned up for you? Like, when did you finally start to feel like, you know what, I am okay. I am good enough. I am,
I'm glad you asked that question, Chris. My wife said, because we go to the beach, right? And I wouldn't wear shorts because my legs are very skinny.
Same problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear shorts. I wear sweatpants or long pants. My wife said, "Why don't you wear shorts?" I said, "I'm okay.
Yeah.
And when she kept every now and then she said, "Wear shorts, wear shorts." And I did it. It was no big deal. It was no big deal. But all those years that I suffered was about something inside my head that I was thinking was not cool, not good. And again, one day, and this happened maybe 8 years ago. I went to a friend's house and I walked in the backyard, and I was Ray Leonard. I was not Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, I didn't have to dress up a certain way. I just, I had shorts on, by the way, and that was one of the few times that I felt at peace.
Yeah. And so that was a specific moment you remember.
I'll never forget that moment because I was scared. I was shaking because I'm walking onto the property, and I'm looking at people. I'm saying, and people say, "Hey Ray, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, things are okay."
Yeah.
It's not what I create in my head.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can overthink things or become too analytical.
Yeah, of course. But especially when like you're operating on that level and you're that famous and you're that big, like everywhere you go, I'm sure, like you probably couldn't walk into anywhere without people obviously knowing exactly who you were.
Get acknowledged. But that was so weird. And I remember, when that happened, when I walked in there and I felt good with shorts on it. And I cried.
Really?
I cried. Well, I kind of got away from the group, from everybody, and I cried, man. I was like, wow. It was so incredible. And I just hope people can feel what I'm feeling, or what I felt.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there who are not happy with themselves, although they have everything.
It's so amazing how you remember, and it sounds like in the moments we're able to fully embrace like such big moments. You know what I mean? Like you remember that first punch in the face at 10 when you were like, nope, no chance here. And then to be able to walk outside and acknowledge in that moment that you just made a fundamental like transition and really embrace it to the point of crying and like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that you remember it so well is so like amazing. It sounds like you have these big moments that kind of steered your path a little bit.
Oh, I have those moments, those times with the sexual abuse.
Yep.
That would never leave me. And I don't want it to leave me because it keeps me on my toes. Bought my parents their first home, the Olympics. There's certain moments in my life that when I think about those, it's like, wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just major change. It's like almost like forks in the road.
But not, and I want people to understand this, not from a monetary standpoint, but for life. Because life, like they say, life is what you make it. And
let me ask you this. Anyone that, because as much as I can, I try to give like, information that people can put into use the moment this podcast stops, right? My question is if there's anyone that sort of connects with the feeling of not fitting in and, the feeling that you had when you were scared to wear shorts. Any advice on what they can do to transition to that person who feels okay wearing the shorts, being themselves and saying, hey, I am me? Is it to put yourself out there more? Is it to head on face the things that scare you? Like, how could we tell someone like how to manufacture that breakthrough?
It's the way I feel personally. I just be yourself, be who you are, because people are going to accept you no matter what. It's you, the individual, that's overthinking things. My hair should be longer, or I should have more muscles. Just be who you are. And again, I'm saying it's so simple, but and it's not that easy, but it's doable. Put it that way. You know, be who you are. Be proud of who you are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if it's a plus, I mean, I'm not saying be who you are, you know, as a criminal.
Yeah.
But you know,
But I do believe that inside every person's like who they really are is good. Like I do believe that, you know, I believe that a lot of the criminal stuff and the drug abuse and all the negative things come from the insecurities or the fears or the,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
like I may be naive here, but I truly believe that when everyone, even the biggest criminal, goes home at night, they want to be good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they want to be able to be good. They feel like they had no choice but to get into this life, or friends brought them into it, or whatever, through whatever circumstances you kind of ended up here. So it's like, well, then I'm going to attack it, right? Because I'm going to attack anything I do. But I do think when you tell people be who you are, I don't think anyone listens to that and says, all right, I'm going to go start robbing these banks then.
Yeah.
You know, because I
Yeah,
knew I was
yeah,
a bank
right,
robber,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean,
interesting.
it's I tell you, these questions you're asking us are extraordinary because it's so natural and so normal and so simple, but they affect so much of our lives, the way we think.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we overthink things sometimes, and what we think sometimes it's not always the case of how you look of how people you say, well, they think I'm ugly, or they think I'm fat, they think I'm this and that. You know what? Don't waste what they call this. There was a saying about don't sweat the small stuff, and I've learned that. I mean, I'm 62 years old,
Yeah.
and I still sometimes have low self-esteem. It comes in spurts, but you know what? I pray. I pray every day. I used to pray when I was fighting. You know, I was 14, 15 as an amateur, and I didn't pray to win. I prayed that no one got hurt. I never prayed to win. You know what I mean? I never prayed to win. So it's a very complex world, and things now are more available, and you know. But life is what you make. I keep telling myself, life is what you make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure is.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about these conversations. And when you just said like about the questions I ask and how they sort of affect so many people, it's because after doing so many of these interviews and then just coming from where I come from, small town outside of Akron, Ohio, having normal friends, whatever, I realized that we all have so much in common.
Absolutely.
And Sugar Ray Leonard has so much in common with like an 18-year-old who just graduated high school who's trying to figure out his or her struggles.
Right.
You know, it's like there are these lessons and these principles that I think are fundamentally true for everyone. And it's like, I'm trying to learn them as I have this conversation and all these conversations, but I think as much as I can learn them and spread them, that's the way that we can all do a little better, right? Is to like say, what do we have in common here? You know
what we have in common? That we are fighters outside the boxing ring. The same principles that I applied to become a champion are applicable in everyday life. We get knocked down. Everyone gets knocked down, but you have to get back up, right? I do road work, and you have your own version of road work, whatever is necessary. You need a great corner. I had good people in my corner that I can rely upon. You got to have good people, good friends. You have to believe in yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. And you must, in which we all want victory. Victory is not going to drop in your lap. You have to be strong and focus on that. So we are all fighters.
Yep, that's so true. Let me ask you this: you're doing a lot of work now with charity. You have your own charity. Is that you and your wife?
My wife started the Sugar Ray Leonard Foundation, and our mission is to raise awareness and raise funds that goes towards research for diabetes, to one day eradicate diabetes. And we raised close to, $3 million.
Wow.
It's something that, that I want to do. I want to give back, because I just don't want to be remembered as a fighter, as a champion.
Yeah.
I want be remembered as someone who also helped make a difference in lives of so many people,
Yep.
especially kids. But that's my love. Helping make a difference in someone's life is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That has to be like the way that you're able to impact people and affect people, and especially with the charity work, like has to be, I don't even want to say similar because they're probably both different and very great, but a great feeling just like being the champion at boxing.
You're right. You said it right on. You hit it right on the head.
Right?
When I had my hands raised up
Yep.
as a champion, boxing champion, is in words can't describe. So when we one day eradicate diabetes,
Yep.
those same hands will be up.
Yep. That's so true. Oh, man, you already got your eye on the.
Absolutely.
You're already back with that tunnel vision. Okay, last question. If you could travel back in time, you've been through so much. You're so smart. You have such a wise, like, sort of viewpoint on all this stuff. If you could go back in time now to, let's say, 14, 15-year-old you, just kind of getting into boxing, working super hard, but just wanting so badly to make a name for yourself and mean something and whatever, and you could just tell yourself one quick little tidbit to kind of help you get through life, what do you think that you'd say?
Don't ever quit. Mm-hmm. Don't ever quit. Don't, for whatever reason, don't quit. Dream the dream.
That's it. Listen, man, I can't thank you enough. This was incredible.
Thanks, babe.
Such a good conversation. Thanks for making it happen. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon.
Cool. That was good, man.
You liked it?
Mm-hmm.
We flowed.
You
Got done right in
You
time.
almost had me in tears for a second.
I don't want you to cry, but I like that you were getting that descriptive.
Thanks, babe.
That was really good. Thank you so much. Guys, if you like that and you want to see more like it, as well as vlogs, other web series, and all the random stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You won't regret it, I promise.